The Golden State Warriors appear to have rediscovered their best form at the most crucial moment of the season. After experiencing ups and downs throughout the year, the San Francisco team has strung together an impressive run, winning 6 of their last 7 games, reigniting the hopes of their fans and making it clear that they still have a lot to show in the fight for the ultimate glory in American basketball. Led by Stephen Curry, the Warriors are not only showing a strong ability to bounce back, but also signaling that they will not be an easy opponent for anyone in the playoffs. Confidence has returned, team chemistry seems sharp, and the team's psychological momentum is extremely favorable. Still, when it comes to the title, some see a clear ceiling for this current roster. The most realistic projection places the team with the potential to reach, at best, the conference semifinals. And for a group used to competing for championships, that possibility doesn't sound very exciting. What could change this scenario? A potential shakeup in the market, with the arrival of a big-name player, could be the missing fuel to reignite their championship hopes for 2025 to 26. Speculation points to a possibility that, if it materializes, would shake the very foundations of the NBA, the trade of Jonathan Kuminga, along with other assets, for a dominant center and 3-time MVP winner, the Denver Nuggets superstar Nikola Jokic. This potential deal, involving one of the brightest names in basketball today, comes precisely as Curry approaches the final stretch of his on-court career. There is a clear sense that time is passing, and with that comes the urgency to surround the point guard with the best possible roster to maximize his final seasons at a high level. A reinforcement like Jokic would completely change the team's status. It's not just about adding talent, but about integrating into the Warriors' system a piece capable of transforming both offensive and defensive dynamics. The Serbian center is much more than impressive numbers. He is a playmaker, a rare facilitator at his position, and a born competitor. With insane averages of 30 points, nearly 13 rebounds, and more than 10 assists per game, along with a shooting percentage over 57% and more than 41% from 3, Jokic continues to prove that he is an unstoppable force. In a league where versatility is increasingly valued, he represents the kind of player who completely transforms a roster. On the Warriors' side, there's much to consider. Jonathan Kuminga, despite being young and promising, will soon become a restricted free agent and is expected to receive hefty offers around $30 million annually. With a tight salary cap, retaining the player could become a challenge, making a sign-and-trade move a smart alternative for the front office. In addition to Kuminga, the franchise could include names like Moses Moody, Buddy Hield, Gary Payton-Dekun, and Brandon Podziemski, along with a series of draft picks, including a 2026 first-rounder, a protected 2028 pick, a 2029 second-rounder, and even swap rights in 2027. A package of this size wouldn't go unnoticed by any team. The context of the Denver Nuggets also needs to be closely analyzed. Even with Jokic's phenomenal performance this season, the team decided to part ways with head coach Michael Malone, a decision that surprised everyone and raised questions about the franchise's next steps. The change in coaching may indicate that even the core players are not entirely guaranteed to stay. It's within this uncertain scenario that Golden State may see an opening. While it may seem unlikely to see Jokic leave Denver, a strong offer combined with a restructuring phase in the Nuggets organization could make the deal appear less far-fetched than it initially seems. Thinking about a Curry-Jokic partnership, it's impossible not to imagine an offensively devastating team. The combination of the point guard's court vision and the center's precise passing would create a machine of off-ball movement, something that fits perfectly within the Warriors' identity. Jokic is known for punishing smaller defenders in the paint, finding open teammates with unpredictable passes, and forcing opposing defenses to constantly reorganize. Placed within a system like Golden State's, where movement and cutting are constant, his impact would be even more significant. Moreover, defensively, his presence in the paint would bring a solidity that the team has long lacked. While the current centers play important roles, none come close to offering what Jokic provides in both efficiency and tactical intelligence. Meanwhile, the Warriors' front office needs to balance boldness with responsibility. Giving up young talent and future picks is always a risk, but when trying to win while still having a superstar of Curry's caliber, the risk may well be worth it. For many analysts, this trade would be one of the most impactful of the past decade. The NBA is used to blockbuster moves, but bringing together two players with such elite game vision and decision-making ability would be unprecedented. Even more so if we add to the mix a name like Jimmy Butler, also rumored as a potential target for Golden State. A trio formed by Curry, Jokic, and Butler would instantly propel the team to the top of the title odds. With such a move, the Warriors wouldn't just extend their championship window, they would also give Stephen Curry the chance to end his career truly competing for trophies. And that's an ending both fans and the league itself would love to witness. The mere speculation about a possible arrival of Nikola Jokic to the Golden State Warriors is already enough to shake up the NBA world. And while it may seem unlikely to see a franchise like the Denver Nuggets giving up their biggest star, recent events, especially the surprising dismissal of Michael Malone, raise questions about the Colorado team's real plan for the future. It's impossible to ignore how administrative decisions shape the direction of teams. The departure of Malone, who led Denver to the top of the league and was a central figure in the tactical structure surrounding Jokic, has left the environment unstable. This instability, in turn, can be interpreted as the beginning of a new phase, and perhaps the start of a rebuild process that could open the door to unexpected trades. Golden State, experienced and watchful, has the chance to take advantage of this turbulence to execute a bold move. And if there is a time for it, it's now. Stephen Curry remains at a high level, but time is relentless. Each season without a real push for the title is a lost opportunity that won't come back. Therefore, when we talk about building a superpower around Curry's talent and the addition of a genius like Jokic, it's not just a flashy move, and it's a strategic necessity. More than simply trying to compete, the Warriors could aim for total domination. The fit between Curry and Jokic, from a technical perspective, is nearly perfect. Both are offensive maestros with unique court vision, capable of manipulating defenses without even touching the ball. Jokic can operate from the high post or the perimeter, distributing passes and creating space for his teammates' shots, while Curry moves relentlessly behind the three-point line, forcing defenders to maintain constant attention. Moreover, Jokic's offensive versatility would allow the Warriors to diversify their playing style. They could continue to exploit the cuts and movement already characteristic of their system, but would also add more pick-and-roll and pick-and-pop options with deadly results. It would be a multi-layered attack, impossible to defend consistently over a 7-game series. It's not just about individual talent, but about how the pieces would complement each other within the collective. Curry has already proven to be extremely effective playing alongside great passers. Jokic, on the other hand, has never had a perimeter partner with the offensive gravity of the Warriors' point guard. The passing exchange, synchronized cuts, improvised plays, and long-range shots would become a lethal combination capable of dismantling any type of defense thrown at them. It's worth noting that although Jokic is currently under contract with Denver, contractual situations are rarely insurmountable barriers in today's NBA. When there's mutual interest between a player and a new team, and when the current franchise is presented with a strong package of assets, blockbuster trades like this move from fantasy to real possibility, and the Warriors have plenty to offer. The combination of promising young players, matching contracts, and valuable draft picks creates a highly competitive package. Jonathan Kuminga, for instance, has developed significantly in recent years and already shows flashes of stardom. Moses Moody is another name with considerable room for growth, while Buddy Hield would bring reliable shooting, and Gary Payton II is known for his defensive energy and versatility. Brandon Podziemski, early in his career, has demonstrated above-average poise and tactical intelligence. Added to these players, the quantity and quality of draft picks involved in the proposal would make the deal even more appealing to a franchise that might be considering beginning a new era. The Nuggets could thus rejuvenate their roster and bet on a young core with developmental potential. while also gaining financial flexibility and assets for a rebuild. For the Warriors, the equation is clear. It's about sacrificing tomorrow to win today, a philosophy they've embraced before when they moved to acquire pieces like Kevin Durant, even if that meant letting go of part of their original identity. And it was exactly that kind of boldness that led the team to solidify itself as a dynasty in the 21st century. Now, looking to the immediate future, the front office finds itself with a new opportunity to reinvent the team. Jokic could not only keep the Warriors at the top, but elevate them once again to the status of clear favorite, even in a Western Conference packed with competitive teams like the Timberwolves, Thunder, and Clippers. Beyond the tactical and strategic impact, there's also the question of legacy. Stephen Curry has built a career rooted in loyalty, innovation, and championships. Ending that journey with new triumphs would be the ideal finale, not just for him, but for everyone who has followed his path since his first steps in the league. And for that to happen, the arrival of a new star could be fundamental. Jokic, for his part, has been a statistical monster and one of the most admired players of the past decade, but he still seeks to expand his list of achievements. Although he already has an NBA title to his name, joining a winning organization like Golden State could further cement his place in the sport's history. This move would also have a profound impact on the league as a whole. The union between Curry and Jokic would generate immediate buzz, forcing other teams to make moves to keep the balance of power. It would usher in a new era of super teams, reigniting rivalries and raising the NBA's competitive level to new heights. The domino effect of such a trade would even extend into the marketing and viewership realms of the league. The NBA knows that star pairings draw attention, boost ratings, and sell jerseys. The surge in popularity that would come from this type of deal wouldn't go unnoticed. Golden State is already one of the strongest brands in sports, and by adding an international MVP to its core, that power would multiply. From a tactical, technical, emotional, financial, and even commercial standpoint, everything seems to line up. The time to act is now. Jokic is still in his prime, Curry continues to shine, and the Warriors have more than enough resources to make the offer happen. What remains to be seen is whether Denver's front office is willing to start a new journey, and whether Jokic will view the possibility of wearing another jersey favorably, perhaps in pursuit of more rings and an even higher place in the league's history. Looking at the recent history of the Golden State Warriors, it's evident that the franchise has always valued the combination of natural talent, collective intelligence, and boldness in decisive moments. From the explosion of small ball that revolutionized the NBA to the signing of superstar names at the peak of their dynasty, the moves made by the San Francisco team have always had a clear objective: to be at the forefront. And if there's one organization capable of making bold decisions without losing its identity, that organization is the Golden State Warriors. It is precisely this tradition of innovation and courage that supports the idea of a monumental trade for Nikola Jokic. This wouldn't be an outlier move, but rather another chapter in a book already filled with visionary decisions. The front office, led by experienced individuals like Mike Dunleavy Jr., knows that in critical moments, hesitation can come at a high cost, especially when dealing with a star like Stephen Curry, whose legacy deserves to be surrounded by excellence until the final second on the court. Curry, who has dedicated his entire career to the California team, has always been the face of the Warriors culture. A player who redefined the way the game is played, inspired a generation, and brought championships where there were once only promises. Around him, the franchise has built historic rosters, reinvented game systems, and set the pace for the entire league. But now, even while maintaining part of that core, the feeling is that something needs to change to keep the magic alive. Jokic could be exactly that element of renewal, a breath of fresh air for a team that, although still competitive, has been showing signs of wear after years competing at the highest level. It's not about abandoning the identity, but adapting it to the league's new landscape. And that adaptation sometimes requires the courage to make tough decisions, including those that involve giving up promising young talent. Jonathan Kuminga undoubtedly has value. He has shown physical and mental growth and has proven he can be a relevant piece in the league's future. But Curry's timeline is not the same as Kuminga's. While one is still on the rise, the other is in the final chapters of a legendary career. And this is where the NBA's math comes into play. When you have a window as valuable as Curry's, you need to do everything possible to maximize it until the very end. Moreover, Jokic's arrival would signify a radical shift in the way the Warriors operate on offense. While the team's current playing style relies heavily on spacing and off-ball movement, Jokic would bring the ability to create more direct offensive plays from the paint, reducing Curry's workload and redistributing the responsibility of offensive creation. It would be, in many ways, a new version of the Warriors. Not better or worse, but different, adapted to the present. And this adaptation is necessary because the competition isn't slowing down. The emerging teams in the West are getting stronger. The Thunder and Timberwolves bring youthful strength and solid structure. The Clippers and Suns are betting on veteran stars. The Lakers, despite their ups and downs, remain dangerous. In this context, any passivity could mean an early exit. Golden State, therefore, needs to stay ahead. And the move for Jokic could be exactly that. A strategic leap to regain the prominence that turned the franchise into a global phenomenon. Another relevant point is the stability Jokic would provide. With a profile that values the collective, a style of play that doesn't rely on physicality, and a team-first mentality, the Serbian center fits perfectly with the Warriors' spirit. He's the kind of star who doesn't need the ball in his hands all the time, but transforms everything around him. Someone who elevates the level of his teammates without dimming anyone's individual brilliance. That trait would be essential to maintaining a balanced locker room, especially with the presence of players who have been together for years. Mutual respect, work ethic, and a focus on winning have always been pillars of success in San Francisco. And Jokic, with his quiet and professional demeanor, represents exactly that kind of profile. And when we talk about long-term impact, it's worth considering how this move would also prepare the team for the post-Curry future. While no one likes to think about the day the point guard hangs up his sneakers, the reality is that moment is approaching. Having a star like Jokic on the roster would ensure a smoother transition, maintaining the franchise's competitiveness even after the departure of its icon. That alone would already justify the heavy investment. The NBA is marked by cycles. Great teams rise and fall, reinvent themselves, or fade away. The Golden State Warriors, however, have the chance to avoid a deep dive into rebuilding precisely by staying ahead of the curve. Bringing in Jokic would be like planting a seed of continuity in the middle of what, to many, would seem like the end of an era. In addition to all these technical and strategic factors, there's also an emotional aspect that cannot be ignored. The Warriors fan base is one of the most passionate and engaged in the NBA. They've watched the team rise from rock bottom to become a benchmark. Jokic's arrival, in this sense, wouldn't be just another reinforcement. It would be a statement of intent. A clear message that the front office is willing to do whatever it takes to keep the flame of victory burning. At 22 years old, a young Filipino center has been turning heads wherever he goes. With an imposing stature, refined skills for his position, and impressive body control, Kai Sotto is not just another player trying to make it to the NBA. He represents a rare combination of talent, size, and ambition. Standing 16 meters tall, he already carries on his shoulders not only the expectations of his nation, but also the promise of something greater, to become the next big name in Asian basketball on the international stage. Kai Sotto is much more than numbers and statistics. He brings a playing style that blends the traditional characteristics of a center with a modern touch of versatility. He not only protects the rim with authority, but also knows how to create offensive opportunities with creativity and court awareness. His offensive repertoire includes consistent mid-range shots, well-executed hook shots, and above-average court vision for someone in his position. He also shows strong defensive instincts, especially when it comes to contesting shots and covering sensitive areas in the paint. But when we talk about joining the NBA, and more specifically becoming part of one of the most strategic franchises in the league today, the Golden State Warriors, the game changes completely. The competition is fierce, the pace relentless, The physical and tactical demands are pushed to extremes that few leagues around the world can replicate. And it is in this context that the potential arrival of Kai Sotto to the Warriors roster becomes a fascinating prospect. The transition to the NBA is often challenging, even for the most experienced and highly rated athletes. Talent alone is not enough. One must know how to use it under pressure against faster, stronger, and more prepared opponents. For Kai, this would mean entering a new phase of his evolution as a player, where every practice, every minute on the court, and every decision during a game would matter. His history in international basketball, having played in leagues such as Japan's and Australia's, has already shown glimpses of his potential. However, the NBA is a world apart, and the true test is yet to come. Within the Warriors system, Kai would have the opportunity to develop alongside some of the sport's most renowned names. With a coaching staff known for their ability to refine talent and an offensive system that emphasizes smart movement, game reading, and versatility, he would have the ideal environment to explore the upper limits of his development. Training daily with top-level veterans, participating in complex tactical schemes, and being tested in high-pressure situations would be decisive factors in his journey. But what truly makes this possibility intriguing goes beyond basketball. The cultural connection between Kai Sotto and the Bay Area is deep and symbolic. The San Francisco region and its surroundings are home to one of the largest Filipino communities outside the Philippines. His arrival in this setting would mean much more than a simple signing. It would represent a point of unity between a globally renowned team and a passionate fan base eager to see one of their own shine on basketball's most prestigious stage. The impact of this union would be immediate. The Chase Center, home of the Warriors, would become a stage for not only sports celebrations, but cultural ones as well. Fans waving Philippine flags in the stands, cheers in Tagalog echoing during games, and a contagious energy coming from an entire community that would finally see itself represented at a high level in the NBA. It would be a unique experience for the franchise and for the league as a whole. Beyond the on-court effects, Kai's arrival to the Warriors would open significant doors in the commercial landscape. The NBA has been increasingly investing in the globalization of its product, and athletes who can connect different cultures become valuable assets for any organization. Partnerships with Asian brands, increased viewership in Southeast Asian countries, and new possibilities for digital engagement would be just some of the natural consequences of this union. However, one cannot ignore the harsh reality that accompanies any young player trying to establish themselves in the NBA. Even with talent, dedication, and a favorable context, the margin for error is extremely small. The Warriors' roster is carefully constructed to maintain competitiveness at the highest level, which means that every spot must be filled by someone who delivers immediate results or has a clear potential to evolve rapidly. If signed, Kai would have to prove in a short time that he is up to the challenge. His adaptation to the fast and physical style of the American League will be crucial. His reaction speed on defense, physical conditioning to endure the grueling schedule, and understanding of positioning within complex systems are all factors that could define his success or failure in the league. He will need to show that he can handle mobile power forwards, heavy centers, and defensive schemes that demand constant switching and effective communication. However, there is one factor that may work in his favor: his hunger to learn. Kai has already shown in his international journey that he is not afraid of challenges. He left home at a young age, faced different cultures, battled experienced opponents, and kept his dream alive even in the face of adversity. This resilience is one of the most valued qualities by teams like the Warriors, who prioritize players with a growth mindset. If the signing materializes, the rewards could be long-lasting. In just a few years, Kai could establish himself as one of the cornerstones of the Warriors' new generation of players, alongside other young talents the franchise has been working to develop. His presence in the paint could solve structural issues for the team, especially regarding rim protection and physical presence against opponents who play a more rugged style in the key. In a team that often relies on the precision of its shooters, having someone with his height and defensive instincts could bring even more balance to the lineups. Coach Steve Kerr's vision of the game, based on off-ball movement, quick passes, and intelligent defensive switches, would require Kai to make a continuous effort to adapt. He couldn't just be a big guy standing in the paint. He would need to be agile, have good game reading, and communicate constantly with his teammates. This ability to adapt to the team's dynamic rhythm would be vital for him to earn his place in the rotation. Off the court, Kai's image would also carry symbolic weight. In a league that celebrates diversity and inclusion, he would become the face of a new phase of Asian representation. Just as names like Yao Ming paved the way for future generations, Kai could take on that role for the Philippines and other Southeast Asian communities. His rise would not be solely athletic. It would also be cultural, emotional, and inspiring. Even with the risks involved, signing Kai Sotto could be a strategic move that yields significant rewards. The bet wouldn't just be on who he is today, but on what he could become in the years to come. And that, in itself, is enough to justify the Warriors' interest.